In this video, we'll go over this week's homework for Chapter 5, Learning Objectives 1 and 2. Let's read the first question together. Milligan's Millworks pays its employees weekly. Use the wage bracket tables from Appendix C to compute the federal income tax withholdings for the following employees of Milligan's Millwork. Assume that no pre-tax deductions exist for any employees, and box 2 is not checked for all employees, and manual payroll system is used. Round your intermediate calculations and final answers to 2 decimal places. Leave no cells blank. Enter 0 wherever required. The first employee is D. Bellistreri, who's single and has 2 dependents under 17. We need to look up the wage of $860 because the taxable income is equal to the weekly pay because there are no pre-tax deductions in the 2022 wage bracket method table. Be sure to use the table that is for forms W4 2020 or later, and that you pick the right payroll frequency. This table is on page 454 of your textbook. So here we can see that the preliminary tax rate is $69. But the employee still gets credit for the 2 dependents under 17 for $2,000 each. We divide the $4,000 by 52 for $76.92, which reduces the tax down to 0. Take a look at the next employee, Y. Milligan. In this case, the employee has 1 other dependent, which means that the annual credit is only $500. Please give it a try. The second question is very similar to the first one. D. Bellistreri has a slightly lower weekly pay than in question 1, and the final tax after dependent deductions is still 0. Here's problem number 3. Avanti Italian Imports has 4 employees and pays biweekly. Assume that box 2 is not checked for L. Tarabi and R. Beninati, and is checked for G. Fisher and J. Tillman. Required on Form W4, complete step 2, the multiple jobs worksheet, when applicable, to obtain the amount for step 4C. Calculate the federal income tax withholding using the wage bracket tables with Forms W4 from 2020 or later in Appendix C. Note, round your intermediate calculations and final answers to 2 decimals. The first 2 employees are very similar to what we covered in question 1 and 2. However, the last 2 employees also have spouse annual salary. So that's a little trickier. So let's calculate the tax for G. Fisher together. This employee is married filing jointly, has 3 dependents under 17, has an annual salary of $32,500, and the employee spouse makes $50,000 paid biweekly. First, we calculate the biweekly salary for G. Fisher, which is $1,250. Now look up the preliminary tax in the federal biweekly tax table, which is $84. We then subtract $230.77 for the 3 dependents under 17, which brings the tax down to 0. It's really important that you don't carry forward a negative amount. Next, we'll look up the additional taxes on page 4 of Form W4. I've added the link to the form right here as well, and it's also saved in the Canvas module for this part of Chapter 5. We find the intersection between lowest and highest, which is 3,360, which we then divide by 26, to arrive at the biweekly amount of $129.23, which is the final tax. When you look at the table on Form W-4, it's really important to look at the table description for the column and the row so that you don't look up the wrong amount. The column header states that the lower paying annual amount is listed here, and the higher paying job annual tax wage is listed in the row description. Here's problem number 4. We have 3 employees for whom we have to use the percentage method of calculating the federal income tax withholdings. Please locate the percentage table starting on page 497 of your textbook. Be sure to use the 2022 table for the monthly pay frequency for Form W-4 for 2020 or later, which is on page 500. We'll start by finding the correct marital status, married filing jointly, and the standard withholding section because the box in step 2 wasn't checked. Now we'll find the correct row that includes $12,400 for the first employee, Calder. We'll subtract $9,121 from $12,400 because we only need to calculate the wage amount above $9,121 at the 22% tax, which is $721.38. We add the tentative tax amount from the table of $801.30 to the $721.38 to arrive at $1,522.68. We then calculate the dependent credit for 3 dependents under 17 for monthly payroll, which is $500, which brings the final tax to $1,022.68. Here's problem number 5. This problem is almost identical to question number 4, except that it has different amounts. Please give it a try.